it's really daunting to hear that there's something wrong with your child, that they're out of the norm. And when someone says your child needs therapy, you kind of shut down. At least I did. I was like, I'm not sure that I want to believe that my kid's different and my kid needs therapy to function. Like, that's really hard to swallow. But now I know how much CP has done for her and has done for us. And to think back on the days of apprehension before she started, where I really thought to myself, is this something that I can do? Boy, I wish I could sit down with myself then and say, this is where you're going to be in a year and a half, and this is what you're going to see with progress, and this is how Nora is going to be, because it would have changed my whole outlook.
So Nora comes to CP for weekly OT, PT, and speech therapy services. She was born premature at 27 weeks, and then some complications with prematurity led to the neurological condition of cerebral palsy.
Other than being premature, which is very serious, there wasn't anything wrong with her. She didn't have any heart problems or brain injuries or anything like that. But 9 days after she was born, they found a blood clot, an infected blood clot in her right atrium of her heart. And because of that, she had a stroke and a pulmonary embolism. So part of that clot broke off and went into her brain and caused bleed on both sides of the brain, the right side being worse than the left. And it also went into her lungs and caused a lot of breathing issues while she was in the hospital.
Nora really struggled when she first came to CP. She had so much done with her medically that she just assumed that anybody that was coming by her or toward her or at her was going to be doing something that wasn't going to be pleasant, that was going to, stress her out.
So when Nora started seeing us about a year ago, right before her first birthday, she had quite a bit of sensory concerns. So she really struggled with new people, new places, new environments, and everything was very scary for Nora. So she would get really emotional, seeing new people. Just tolerating therapy was really, really difficult. But then on top of that too, she had a really hard time holding her head up. Sitting, she wasn't yet rolling. She wasn't able to actively reach with either of her hands. And so she has come so far in the year that we have seen her from where she first started.
When I started seeing Nora, she was about 14 months old, and she came to me because she was G-tube dependent for all of her nutritional needs. She wasn't taking purees, she wasn't taking easily meltable, she wasn't doing any of the foods a child her age would typically be taking. So the main focus when we first started was to really decrease that hypersensitivity so that we could get into her mouth to help develop those typical motor patterns that were going to help her be successful with eating. Our ultimate goal for Nora is that we would eventually be able to remove the feeding tube once she's developed enough oral motor skills and endurance to eat a typical diet. Sometimes kids aren't able to eat everything that you and I are able to eat, but that she can still meet the nutritional needs without having to supplement with a feeding tube.
She is a whole new child since starting CP. When we first started, Nora did not tolerate anybody new. Nobody. Some of our first sessions was her just screaming the entire time.
With some of Nora's sensitivities and sensory processing, she would get very upset easily and require a lot of calming, a lot of clapping, a lot of rocking. That was kind of brought up by OT as some ways to cope with becoming upset.
It was emotionally taxing on both of us. I wouldn't have been able to get through that, and neither would have Nora, if our therapists weren't so comforting and weren't so positive, saying, look, you're not the first kid who's gone through this. You're not the first parent who's experienced a child screaming for 45 minutes. It will get better. Before you knew it, it was gone, and she was looking forward to going to therapy.
It's very important for parents to trust the process. I know sometimes the first session or two, you're just really trying to get to know the child. They might have a hard time trusting you right away. So it can be a rough couple of sessions to start. I mean, just like for Nora, I would go out to the waiting room and she'd be crying right away. But I would say after a few weeks, she really took off, and as much as we could incorporate play and singing and just making it fun, I think really helped for her.
I mean, Nora's parents are amazing. You know, they're there for every therapy session, and they come in twice a week, soon to be 3 times a week. You know, they ask great questions. They're 100% on board with Nora's treatment plan, and we all have the same idea of where we're going. I mean, at this point, sky's the limit for her. You know, she's young, she's motivated, she's smart. I think she'll go far.
There's not enough knowledge about the world of disability. But I think if people took the time to really get to know CP, they would see the amazing work that they're doing and the amazing therapies that they provide and the amazing people who are employed there and the impact that they have on everybody's lives. And I wish everybody could know about it without having to go through the trauma of knowing your child is different. And it's beautiful that they're different, but it's hard. It's really hard. So to those who can support CP, they should, because it's a gift, really.